I mean, in Domino stores at that time, on every store there was a map. And the drivers literally, and this is why the obvious drivers, before they went out, to do deliveries, before Cowabunga, which is what my business was called at the time, they would look at this map, where they delivered, and they would figure out where to go. That is how they did it. And so do you see now what I mean, where it was so obvious?
Welcome to a brand new episode of Boardroom Conversations, the WATPROP Business Podcast. Today we have a very special guest joining us. Her name is Kimberly Taylor. She's the founder and CEO of a company called Loop. It's a business that utilizes technology to optimize logistics functions for a variety of different businesses. We hope you enjoy this boardroom conversation. I'm your host, Justin Watkins. Just a quick one, before this episode begins, please like, share and subscribe. We're on YouTube and Spotify. Please follow us to keep up to date with the latest episodes. Kim, thank you so much for coming on to the Boardroom Conversations today. I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you affording us the opportunity to speak to you about your story personally, but also Loop as a business. So thank you.
Yeah, pleasure.
Awesome.
Nice to be here.
Thank you so much. So at the beginning of every podcast, we normally always start with the person story, because Loop is a business and there's a face to the business, but there's always a person and their journey that's ultimately built a story behind the business that's led to Loop being what it is today. Really, Loop wouldn't be Loop without you. So as part of that, in your early life, you would have had exposure perhaps to entrepreneurship or engineering or STEM. Walk us through your early life of perhaps how that laid the foundation for you when you went to varsity, ultimately study chemical engineering. What early introductions did you have to STEM and engineering specifically?
So no direct influence to engineering, and I'll explain it in this way, right? I have a biological dad, but who has never been in my life. What is interesting though is that he was, for a short period of time, I remember being 7 years old, and he actually is also a chemical engineer. Oh. So definitely there's probably a bit of maths engineering that runs in the blood. There is some influence, and probably I had a confidence because I had a parent who taught me maths quite early, although he didn't form part of my influence to choosing engineering in any way. I grew up in a house with a very entrepreneurial mom. Wow. And actually, a lot of times I didn't enjoy that. That felt quite unstable. And I know many times as a kid wishing that my mom would just get a normal job, like that there would just be some normality. Eventually, how I came to studying engineering is I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I wanted to have as many options after university. And I was told that engineering would give that to me, especially chemical engineering. As a process engineer, I could go work in a bank, I could go work in a business, I could go work on a mine, like process plant. I wanted something that would make me independent, right? So those are kind of some of the influences.
Sure.
When I talk to maybe how I get to that.
That's so interesting, because it obviously shaped you. And interestingly enough, now that you're an entrepreneur, you've almost combined the two influences together.
Yeah.
You've got the engineering part, solving problems, obviously in Loop, and then now you've technically got the instability of a startup. So you kind of became what you didn't want to, in a sense.
Yes, definitely.
Which is quite cool.
Yeah, and I work hard to try keep stability and calm amongst the chaos but I mean, there's always a natural drift towards chaos, right?
Especially in logistics, because it's always chaotic, but at least your business is solving the chaos and smoothing it out.
Yes.
And you can apply those principles to your life, which is cool as well.
Exactly, yeah.
So you went to varsity, you obviously signed up for engineering, chemical engineering specifically at WITS. So first year, second year, but then something happened, you kind of stumbled upon something in third year.
Yeah.
Walk us through that journey when you initially stumbled upon the assignment and you had to do an assignment. Walk us through that a bit.
So I had, it was my third year. We were in a numerical method subject. It has a little bit of programming, optimization, and in the assignment, the one assignment we had, one of the questions was to write a route optimization algorithm for a traveling salesman that had 10 different stops to go to. And I wrote it and, handed the project but something about it just kept, I was curious about it and this this feels like understanding the difficulty to solve the problem, right? So if you have 10 stops, there's 3.9 million ways you can do those 10 stops. And knowing, drivers surely don't know how to sequence optimally, someone who's starting their day. And so just kind of following that curiosity of how does this get used in the real world? Like, do drivers have a route optimization algorithm? Because if they don't, like, whoa, I've just, written something that could help someone, with. So just, I think that's what sort of started forming the curiosity around this algorithm that we had to write. And then I guess led to the start of this journey.
Wow. So obviously in third year, you've done this assignment. Seeing a problem and solving a problem is one thing, but there's obviously commercial viability around actually going down a particular road. So what was your next step from there? After you had done the assignment and you obviously, surely your lecturer must have been impressed with what you did.
I don't think it was a particularly more impressive algorithm than the next person.
But was everyone doing the same?
Everyone was doing the same thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or I don't know how many students there would have been, if you can imagine mechanical, aeronautical.
And it just stood out for you only. And obviously everyone else was just like, cool, assignment done, handed in, let's go.
Yeah, probably. It seems like that. And it potentially wasn't particularly, I don't know if it was better or worse than anyone else's. It was you either got the best sequence or you didn't, right? And so the next steps I took were really to understand whether it was being used in the real world. When I did that, I saw so many other problems that kind of sat around the space of, sure, okay, the driver goes out, but not only does he not have something that helps him optimize his route, no one has visibility of where he is. And the customers are pretty annoyed because they don't have visibility. The business is getting phone calls all the time, trying to, asking, where's my parcel, where's my ton of bricks, where's my pizza, whether you were in a fast food restaurant or the back of a Buco builder's warehouse or a take-a-lot driver, very similar types of problems and frustrations were being played out. And I don't know, it just was obvious to me that there was a piece of technology missing, right? If you could give drivers something that would help them, tell them what's the best sequence, and that was on their device and you're picking up their location, you could share that location with the business so that they had visibility. You could share it with the end customer. So the pieces just started making sense to me.
Wow.
And I think, and maybe the commercial viability came through I wanted to know whether it was being used in real life. And so it wasn't theory. It wasn't something you could Google. I had to go physically and go into those operations, go sit at a warehouse, go sit at a fast food restaurant. I went physically there, and when you visually see the inefficiency and the frustration, it felt so obvious to articulate, wow, if you had this, it would make this easy. If you had this, it would make that easy. It was so tangible. It wasn't theoretical at all. It was really, really, it was really
obvious to you.
So obvious. So it was so tangible. And through that, you can make some qualitative assumptions, but you can also kind of make quantitative assumptions of, oh, you're going to save time here, you're going to save kilometers here, and
happier customers.
Happier customers. And you start to kind of put this picture together. And I developed a sales presentation of what I thought it didn't have the technology built, but what I thought that if I built this piece of technology, what would happen and what it could look like for the business. I didn't come from a business background, but it just, these principle seemed obvious, right? If I'm saving you 10 Rand and I charge you 2 Rand, like, you're going to be pretty happy with that. And is that commercially viable, right? So if the system is going to cost this much to build and I'm going to make this much per each client, like, do these commercials start to make sense? It was in some ways a very naive view of commercials, and they're, like that young founders who's, we're gonna make billions or whatever. Not that I thought we were gonna make billions, but there was a bit of naivety to the financial model that I had built.
But perhaps that gave you the courage to actually do it.
Yes, it did, and it allowed me to ground and really understand the commercial viability, right? There was nothing theoretical. I didn't put a number on a page to sound good. I really went like into those organizations and understood whether they would pay for it for 2 Rand, for 4 Rand, for 1 Rand 50. Like, I checked all of those things and got letters of intent signed. And that's what, even though they were not legally binding, I think what they showed to potential investors that I was engaging with in parallel is that maybe it was my willingness to kind of like, I'll go and sell this thing. Before it's there, I'll have the conversation. I'll like understand the need. I'm listening to what these clients need. I'm engaging with them. I'm not asking you to give me money and build this product before I've even gone to markets. I'm doing everything I can to
On risk.
Yeah. And to build a pipeline, to build interest. So I understand that that's what I was doing now. I consciously understand that. It wasn't consciously doing that like it was a plan. It was more maybe from a first principles point of view. It was obvious to me that how can I go to an investor and ask him to give me money to build something when I haven't even validated whether, that money will be returned to them times whatever. I think those principles and, that's sort of like, okay, how do I find an investor? All of these things kind of help me get to the commercial viability of building something like this. And probably a little bit of luck.
Yeah, and perhaps also the timing of it. At the time when you were studying and doing this particular venture and going and exploring this whole thing, it was at a time when perhaps e-commerce it had a lot of teething as well, and a lot of things were going online at that time, and like 2013, 2014, around there, online shopping wasn't really a big thing in South Africa, and neither was, like, I remember the first time ordering Nando's online, and it was like such a daunting experience for me because I was like, are they going to get the wrap lemon and herb or mild? Like, I don't know if the system can cope with that type of thing. So there was a lot of teething, and almost, I never even used to order like clothing online because I was like, is it going to fit? What happens if it doesn't fit? Can I return it? All these different questions I was asking myself as a customer. So you're probably also in the middle of a bit of a perfect storm. That you came at a time where customers were asking lots of questions from an efficiency and does this thing actually work type of thing. Even at that time, I think Superbalist was at its like early stages as well around that time. Clothing shopping online was like now the new big thing. Like, you can buy your shoes all of a sudden, and the Adidas shoes will rock up at your door. And it's like, wow, it took 20 days, but at least we got them. And then all of a sudden it became like, for example, with Amazon, you can get same day, take lot, you can get same day now. So obviously over the past 15 years or so, roughly, it's amazing how it's been fast-tracked. So understanding that you've got the solution, you've got this idea, you're busy putting pitch decks together, obviously, to get funding. What are some of the stores that you went to initially to try and figure this whole thing out practically?
Oh man, it was anyone. I didn't have a lot of contacts. My mom has a nursery school, so it's not in the corporate world at all. Buco was one of them.
Wow.
I was out at a club, and I maybe mustn't say, it was one of the execs at Nampak at the time bought me a tequila, and I was like, yes, and can I come and see your warehouse? So there have been people, strange ways that I, got to see different warehouses. I always say, like, I'd let you buy me a drink, but only if you,
Maybe come and see your warehouse.
Can I come and see your warehouse and drivers? Can I come spend a day with your drivers? I was that annoying girl, right, on a flight who spoke to you to see you.
What industry were you?
Can I learn anything about delivery? So I mean, I didn't have I didn't have connections, right? So I had to build those from the ground up. In different ways, cold calling, lots of cold calling. Wow. That happened. I cold called the IT exec of Taste Holdings, who at the time owned Domino's Pizza.
Yes.
Who ended up becoming my first client.
So when you built your MVP, was it first to Taste or
first for Domino's Pizza?
For Domino's Pizza, because they were also part of Taste Holdings.
Yes, yeah. So
how did that look like? I mean, when you built your MVP, being the minimum viable product, for those who don't know what MVP stands for, but did you build it based on their needs, or like did you just create a generic product initially?
As generic as possible, but very tailored to their needs. And I mean, the Domino's story is kind of like that lucky break moment where someone signed more than a letter of intent with me, and they said, okay, if you build this, we will pay this much to integrate. We'll pay you this much to integrate, and we'll pay you this much per delivery. So it was the first moment I had something that actually valued the business, right?
Wow.
Because letters of intent were they didn't have pricing in them. They didn't have anything like that. But Domino's Pizza signed something, not that I think it was a super watertight agreement, so it's probably easy for them to sign. Yeah. But it allowed me to like value this business and that bring on that first investor, which then when we built it, I mean, it was an MVP. I had an amazing dev house, and the owner of that really like pushed me to not build things that were unnecessary, really helped me build my like
keep it lean.
Keep it very lean. He's really, really brilliant at that, and like pushing back and saying, is a client going to pay for that feature? No, like don't build that yet. Really, which is, goes against, like normally they would want you to build more and more and more because they get paid more.
Yeah.
So he was really like, I'm very grateful for him being part of my journey. And these are things where, I don't know if I can replicate that. I was really lucky to, be with people who had values around building the minimum that you need, and working very authentically and honestly in how they dealt with me as a supplier, as a client.
Okay, so obviously it was naturally pizza. It was ordering your pizza online, I want a pepperoni pizza, and it gets delivered to your door. That was kind of the premise of it.
Yes, it was their front-end application, so it was their customer ordering app.
Okay.
And that integrates it into our system.
Okay, so the UI was theirs,
the
the back end was yours.
Yes, and that order would go onto our platform, and then we would assign it to the next available driver. He would pick it up. I mean, in Domino's stores at that time, on every store there was a map. And the drivers literally, and this is why obvious, drivers, before they went out, to do deliveries, before Cowabunga, which was what my business was called at the time, they would look at this map, where they delivered, and they would figure out where to go. That is how.
Wow.
And so these are
how manual it was?
That is how manual it was.
And that was only like 2014, roughly around there.
It was 2016. 2016, yeah, 2016. That is how they did it. And so do you see now what I mean, where it was so obvious? Like, what do you mean?
And it's probably got lost, the pizza got cold, and then you wouldn't order Domino's Pizza again because your pizza rocked up cold.
Yeah, and Uber Eats was coming into the country, and they had visibility, so they really, really wanted this. I knew that they needed it.
Wow.
But you see like these kinds of stories when you're in a warehouse and you see like Bedford View, Kensington, and just stacks of paper being pinned, and you're like, and then you hand it to the driver. Like, how is he supposed to know how to do those 20 stops? It felt so real. The effect of having a system and visibility and tools for the business or the driver.
I mean, if you look at a lot of business success, is that people see an opportunity, they just go for it instead of people like, oh, I can see that problem, but they just do nothing about it. So again, you were fortunate in that sense to almost act on what you were seeing, whether it was driver inefficiency or location inefficiency or delivering the package, whatever it may be. So it's actually very profound when you think about it, because I think everyone knows you as the checker 60/60 algorithm girl.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of sees that. But these little background stories are so important for probably by the time, which we'll obviously chat about it now, but by the time you got to Checkers, I mean, how did that whole thing unbound?
I mean, we were about 2 or 3 years into the business, maybe just starting to break even. We had Domino's, Nando's South Africa, and Nando's Qatar as a clients already. And so very much in that fast food space. And what I had seen, I was very much on top of the data and understanding where the efficiencies were, where they weren't, where bottlenecks, where could we get more efficiency? Is it another piece of another feature we need to build? Is it a driver behavior issue? Where are the inefficiencies? Just really always looking at it.
So did you just keep adding bolt-ons to what you had originally?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That made more sense to help just make it better for the business, the customer, the driver. And at some point, I looked at Nando's data, and it's obviously, you can imagine, there's a lunchtime peak and a dinner time peak of when drivers are busy. And it doesn't really matter. You can't throw more technology at that graph to make it straight. You need to throw volume in the mid-morning and the midday between lunch and dinner to get better utilization of drivers. Wow. And that's when I thought, sure, I mean, at that time, I don't know, hundreds of drivers across the country, Nando's drivers. What if they started at a courier site, like an RTT? And that was one of the people that we were chatting to at the time. And what if they started there and picked up 10 parcels at 8 o'clock in the morning, go and deliver those 10 parcels and then go to their store? Then you now have a network that's, you're sharing drivers. That's actually how those conversations started with RTT. It was, how do we create more efficiency and share this network between these two different businesses?
Sure.
And at the time, again, a bit of lack in timing and everything, they were in discussions with Checkers about the Checkers 60/60 business, and that's how we got introduced to them. It was actually through RTT.
Wow.
So it kind of trying to solve one problem for a client led to this opening of this conversation in the store with Checkers, and then
So is that how it works today? Still,
no.
In terms of Nando's drivers, how did that change?
So if that never happened.
That never happened?
That never happened.
Because it's such an interesting way of looking at it, that they can optimize a guy would almost drive for two companies in a sense.
Yes, yeah, that never happened. And I think there are ways that collaboration is starting to happen in the space, but it's still complex, right? Then just saying, hey, this is how we get more, is, politics, there's a whole bunch of things that affects how people can collaborate in the space. But that didn't happen. However, then the Checkers thing happened.
Wow. So obviously let's do RTT.
Yeah.
You build the algorithm that enabled Checkers 60/60 basically.
So it's interesting on their side, less so about the algorithm, but it's so much more around the automation, the scale of the problem, the volume of deliveries that come in per second, the number of location updates, the complexity of that system sits in places I don't even know that I want to share with, because they sit in there's so many lessons we've learned from, and that I'm so grateful to have been afforded the opportunity to understand how systems scale, right? Because building a 1 or 2, you would understand, 2, 3-story building, right, is one thing. Even just a 1-story building a house versus building, the buildings that you guys build, 13, 15, I don't even know how many stories that is. But it's, understanding how to solve problems at that scale is an opportunity and something I also dearly respect and am grateful for. And that's what's happened for us with Checkers. It's really understanding how to scale technology.
What were some of the issues building for Checkers that you didn't think you would encounter when trying to help them? I mean, what were some of the issues that came out that you're like, wow, I'd never actually would think that's actually a problem?
So, there's lots. Drivers gaming the system, for one, like spoofing their locations. So,
just walk me through that, how that work?
So drivers, because we are typically looking for the driver who's the closest to the store. Okay. There are applications you can put on your phone to move your GPS location. So it looks like, so imagine I'm here and I'm still at home in the morning, but I should be at work. So you got it, and you can change your location here, and then you start getting an order. But now you're not even at the store, so of course
it'll take way longer than 60 minutes.
It's going to take longer, and it's going to look like, what's wrong with your system? Loop, like what, your system's broken. Why is the GPS location showing you? So a lot of the beginning was just so much teething around understanding, is this a system issue or is this a driver behavior? Have they found a new way to game the system? And there's, lots of, they're not allowed to press delivered unless they're actually at that location, because, they press delivered at another location, going online, offline. There's so many different lessons. And often what we find with people when they come to us in the on-demand delivery space is they have a bunch of requests and we're like, okay, cool, we already have those features, but they don't even know what they don't know from the space. The things that we've learned across our clients, right? Domino's, Nando's, Checkers, One Card, Woolies, like all of these clients that have used our system in this on-demand delivery space, there's so many lessons and features that are just inherently built in. The drivers can't fake their location, right? These guardrails,
So obviously the loop system would handle the ordering side on Checkers 6060, so you go on the app?
No, so the Checkers, that was built by, so I don't know if you know the story, Zulzi. Have you heard about Zulzi?
I had heard of Zulzi, yeah.
So Donald is the founder of Zulzi, and they worked with Checkers to build that front end.
Okay.
That then integrates into Loop's delivery management system.
Wow.
So once the order gets placed on the Checkers application, which really is, the start of that was through Zulzi, and I think ShopRite has some investment in them.
Yes.
So it's his front end, and then that then integrates, that order comes onto our system, and then we do the automation around finding the driver and all process.
Is it automatic?
Yes.
Okay, so
and you have no space for.
And have you started incorporating in the age of AI and everything? I'm assuming it's all a machine learning model and everything now.
Yeah, so some of it is. There's a lot of it that's not. We've moved past thinking that there's one algorithm for every client. There's such nuances in different businesses, how different businesses work, and we've gotten really good at just understanding those and understanding, this part of their business, we can use some machine learning and predictability. That needs it there. They need this algorithm, but they need this calibration. So we, there's a lot of that happens now. I don't know.
Just constantly recalibrating everything to align with, even if you look at like Takealot system, like just as a customer using the system. And I'm sure Loop is also behind. So how's Loop involved
with Takealot? Yeah, so that's interesting. They've been a fantastic partner. It's been in lots of different ways that we work together, through looking at our route planning or route optimization. I'll give you a quick background. So route optimization is, if I've got 20 stops, what's the best sequence? We do route planning. There's a new module we built, I don't even know, maybe 5 years ago, maybe more, I don't know. But so it's a step before that. So let's say I've got 100 parcels to deliver tomorrow and I have 2 drivers. how should those be shared between those two drivers? So route planning is how do I allocate, which parcels do I allocate to which drivers before they even get sequenced.
Wow, okay.
So we have that.
So it could be like a 60-40 split or whatever it may be.
Exactly.
Okay.
It could be by area, by time, by size. Yeah. So, and this is what I mean, where our algorithms, how they work together for different clients, whether we use machine learning, it differs, but depending on the client, because they really do have uniqueness to how they operate. They each operate, and we try to take a very humble approach to understanding their problems, asking them questions and not assuming that just because it works like this for this one client, that's the best way, right? And actually we have something just a step before called territory planning, where if you can imagine, there are sort of let me give you this example. A driver, how it historically works is courier go, we need a driver in Rosebank. In all the Rosebank parcels, if it has this postal code, it goes to this driver.
Yes.
And that Rosebank is however South Africa has drawn the suburb of Rosebank. And what we do is, and then what they'll do over time is, okay, Rosebank's gotten really busy, we need to add another driver. What we do is actually understand exactly how that suburb should be broken up, how it should be drawn, which streets, do you move that street this way? If you picture an actual drawing on a map, so that's the territory planning.
Yeah.
So we have all those 3 layers of
algorithms,
and geospatial AI that runs on these different layers. So with Takealot, we're always engaging with them on some of these algorithms. But also what's been really interesting is we've partnered with them, and it's called Takealot Fulfillment Services on Demand, and it's their Mr. D driver network. And what that allows us to do is actually clients like WATPROP is one of the clients that uses it. They have their own front end that order gets integrated and it gets onto the Loop system, and then that goes and finds a Mr. D driver, and that will go and then pick up that from that vape kiosk and then go and deliver it to.
So it's kind of like what you were saying earlier with the Nando's and the RTT.
Yeah.
Now you're integrating Takealot's Mr. D driver system to deliver for other stores that aren't necessarily related to them, using the TFS or Takealot Fulfillment Services platform.
Yes, exactly. And there's we have a really great relationship with them, partnership in different ways. That's one of the big ways we work with them. And it's great because not everyone can afford to build up a driver network like Checkers has.
It's costly,
It's an entire business in itself. Managing drivers is an entire business in itself. The technology is an entire business in itself. These pieces get quite complex, especially if you want to do them well. And so, Takealot is just, incredible number of drivers across the country, incredible model for how they operate and manage, the on-time deliveries and manage just the performance of these drivers. So it's quite a nice,
So does the algorithm or perhaps the software that you develop, does it allow for a differentiation between bikes and cars? Because even the speed at which you would deliver on a bike would be different for a car and everything.
Absolutely. E-bikes, bike, car, different radius.
Truck.
Yeah.
Because the guy that delivers for Takealot, for example, in our area, it's the same guy all the time. So you build a relationship with the driver, be like, I'm just at the shops, can you come back later? And the guy kind of just says, sweet, cool, I'll come back in. He'll go to another. How do you solve those problems though when someone isn't home?
Yes.
How do you, because now you've optimized the route for the day, but if he has to change his route for some odd reason, if I'm at the shops or my wife's at the shops, for example, but she can't get to the parcel, how do you solve that type of problem?
Yes, I want to make one clarifying statement just because I never like to be inauthentic. Takealot has their own system that their drivers use. What we also sell to clients is standalone algorithms or modules.
Okay.
So for example, you could have your own Loop system, like a delivery management system. Okay. So now we allow that someone has their own, even a competitor to Loop, but they don't have these algorithms, and
There's
so
IP almost inside each
yes,
little one.
in each
Okay.
so that's when we work with them on that layer. It's always on that basis.
Wow.
But then to answer your question on that, we do allow re-optimization. There is the ability to deal with like the ad hoc nature of what happens on a delivery day, traffic, collections that come in. There's
Hundreds.
it's and this is where it gets interesting. How much do you optimize? What sort of predictability can you understand beforehand? When you want to optimize, so
It's just based on like lots and lots of data
lots
based
of
on
data.
Mrs. X is not always home at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday because she goes and does her hair or whatever.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when you start learning those little behavioral patterns around the customer.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning that happens around.
Unbelievably valuable, the data though.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it can allow you to create a system that is really very customer focused. Like example, like Takealot has almost like learned now with time that it always comes late on in the day. So I'm like a little bit grateful for that because then at least I know I can normally get to it.
Yes.
But they used to come like first thing in the morning and like I'm normally out or my wife's out or whatever. So it doesn't really make sense. Yes. So now it's almost learned my timing behaviors over time because they obviously kept logging that like I had to go and they had to go drop another parcel or whatever. And they learned that I always in there like whatever.
And some of that might even just be a driver, right? I mean, there are drivers that are incredibly good at understanding their routes and their area. And that's where like our territory planning comes into play, is like understanding this driver really understands this area. You don't want to change that. You just maybe want to adapt some roads, so that there's better sharing, so that he's not overloaded, so that he's not missing parcels. But even drivers have
lots of intuition.
Yeah, they do. I mean, we track it across different businesses. And this morning I was on a call and one of my team said this client has 20% of their drivers our route optimization can't even beat their intuition. We get to the similar.
It's usually discretion.
Yeah, it's just them understanding. Okay, cool. In this area, I always have to go back here. These are like patterns and things that they learn, which is.
It's even the way they pack the car. For example, like when we used to receive orders, the guy, for some odd reason, our box was always the one right at the bottom of the little van. But now it's always like he just takes it out, it's on the front seat or whatever. So they've obviously learned when they're packing it obviously first in, first out, kind of in terms of how they're packing it at the warehouse. So it's also it's been interesting as a customer to watch how perhaps it has been optimized over time to make it more seamless for the customer. It's really been amazing. And I think that's the profound thing about your business, is that you're actually solving a very real problem. And even when you're at Varsity, you're probably like, oh yeah, if they're kind of looking at a map, for example, at Domino's, and they just go and deliver the pizzas. But it creates a lot of like smoothing out from a daily operational point of view for us as customers.
Yeah, I mean it just is increasing, right? The number of deliveries that happen is just growing month on month on month. I mean, we see a 1 to 11% increase month on month across different clients.
Wow.
And that's a lot. And it becomes more complex. Companies also become better. There's been such an evolution in the space of just businesses getting really, really good at that customer experience and the efficiency, which is amazing. It's so nice to work with companies that are so like focused on how do we get this more excellent. That's what I also love is, corporates can be difficult sometimes to work with, but they can also be, you can learn so much in their like pursuits of excellence, and you see it where these companies are really just really, really evolving, and like the service and the offering is getting better and better, and it like pushes us to say, okay, cool, how do we get the next percentage efficiency? Like where do we find that? Like where is it in the supply chain that we can unlock further savings for our clients?
And obviously you're building a team, and Loop is you've obviously grown a lot over the past 10 years in terms of employees and culture and everything, but running a business is, at the end of the day, it's hard, and building a business is hard.
Yes.
So how do you preserve your culture? Give us some perhaps insights from a leadership point of view, and how perhaps becoming a mother has shaped that for you personally, and the way that you obviously started a business when you weren't a mom, and now you are a mom, and how has that changed your leadership style with your employees, your staff, the way you engage with clients? Maybe just speak to that a little bit.
I believe, and I could change, and this is what I also want to premise to say, that I'm always learning and unlearning behavior as a leader, and where I feel like at times I may have swayed too high on the compassionate side, I am starting to hold a little bit more rationality. So and what I'm calling rational compassion in how I show up as a leader. And it's quite difficult. If you think about it, in a household, you have a husband and a wife, and you can play two very different roles, right? You can play that rational and that compassion role, and you have two people. But in a business, as a leader, you're often having to hold both at the same time, right? I do care about you, but also this performance is not great, and how to have that in a good way. And what I've seen is that when we worry too much, when I have worried, and when my team has worried too much about being liked, being compassionate, showing care, I don't think we say what we should say, because we don't say it direct enough, and it doesn't land. And I, in the last 2 years, have had a couple of feedback sessions where I was less worried about whether this person was going to like me at the end of this conversation. And those were profoundly the most, the best conversations for them and for me, where I could see the person actually change after that conversation, and they appreciated it. People are the best and worst part of a business. They really are. I can get so much energy from working with people, and I can also be so drained. I don't know if that answered your question, I guess. And then becoming a mom, I think it's made me a little bit, I have less time, so I am a little bit more precious with my time. And maybe I've understood, even more importantly, the difference between nurturing versus leading, and how, sometimes mothering someone is not what's best for them, right? And sometimes you have to be a leader. And again, that's, I guess, that rational compassion side, that the holding both sides.
I think building a team is hard, and building a team that can be trusted to work without you constantly, like you said, mothering them. So that you got to allow for people to take responsibility for themselves, to execute, to do the role, to do the job for a client without you constantly overseeing them. And building a business at scale has to almost allow you to let go, because you have to allow people to do roles that you just simply can't do. I struggle with that personally. I always want to do everything, because I'm scared that someone's going to drop the ball. So, but it's something that we have to learn to let go of, that they are capable, they can do it. It may not be in the way that I would have done it, but we have to almost let go of the fact that they are capable, they can execute. And that's difficult to do.
It really is such a journey of letting go, understanding how to bring those people along for the journey. And ultimately, sometimes what I find is that maybe I would rate someone 6 out of 10 on that activity, but the client rates them 9 out of 10. And actually, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Right? Is, I can help them, bring them on the journey of how do we execute an even better, part. But really, who judges value is the client. That's who judges value.
And that's crucial to remember.
So
in terms of understanding running a business, having a household in the background and everything, surely there's some anecdotal stories from a business point of view that that you constantly remind yourself of, that like perhaps really stand out in your mind, like perhaps Richard Branson said something, or Steve Jobs said something, or one of these entrepreneurs said something that you're like, that story really resonated with me in what I'm building right now?
Yeah. I can't think of something right now, but when you said that, what came to mind? I think I'm constantly getting the balance right, trying to get the balance right of being a present mom and then being present at work. And that's, to be honest, what I love. I just want to be present when I'm doing the different thing. But sometimes stress can like leak in and like stop you from doing that. And I've seen it I saw it on an Instagram post once, and it helped me a lot balancing, okay, now I'm at home with my kids and it's like bath time or whatever it is, and to stop being in a work mode. And I do this thinking exercise where I think, okay, I'm 80 years old on my deathbed. Hopefully I'll be 120 with the way medicine goes. But normally I'm 80 on my deathbed. But let's say I'm 120 on my deathbed. And I get a moment to flash back to. Like I get given a moment, and it's this one right now, like me in the bath with my little boy. And like, what would I be doing? Like, what would I feel the exhaustion that I'm feeling from the day, the stress that I'm feeling from the whatever conversation I've had, or would I just look at my child? Like, and it allows me to just notice his smile, his hands, his laugh, it brings me to tears so often, because it you're in that moment. You're like, if this is the only moment that I have to ever come back to, how would I cherish this moment? And that's been so powerful for me to get into, to just really get present. Interestingly, in this thinking exercise I came up with, because of this one that I'd heard, is the one morning I was dead tired, and I was flying to Joburg. I had 3 massive meetings, and like when you're meeting with Take-A-Lots, you're meeting with the Discount, like these are clients I could only have dreamt of engaging with. They were specific meetings that I was just really, one, I was very tired, but then I thought, okay, let me do the thinking exercise. I'm 21 years old and I'm starting this business, and I am flash forward to this moment where I'm on a plane going to meet with these incredible organizations in South Africa. Like, do I show up exhausted, or am I besides myself excited and invigorated, and I get to do this. I actually get to do this. And that's also helped me really shift into presence and gratitude, and how cool that I've been given the opportunity to engage with some brilliant people in South Africa doing such cool work, right? In their different, whether it's delivery of medicine, fast food, parcels, whatever it is, and that have so much tenure and experience that I get to learn from. And so I came up with that thinking exercise. So we're talking about what helps me. I don't know if that's what you're.
No,
those are the two
that's
things
that's so profound. That's so profound. It reminds me of what I was reading about in a book. I can't remember which book it was from, but he premises everything that he does with "I get to."
Yes.
So, for example, I get to form a podcast today. I get the opportunity to speak to you about Loop and your business and the clients that you worked with.
Yeah.
I get to come to work today. I get these opportunities that 10 years ago I would never even imagined.
Yeah.
Sitting speaking to yourself about how you built Loop, and I went to Wits as well. So I mean, you don't even think about it, but when you're in that moment, you actually say, wow, I actually get the opportunity to do this. Even you joke just now, I'm jealous that you get to run a podcast. The thing is, at the end of the day, I'm so thankful for that I get to be the host of a podcast. It's a privilege. And I mean, even when you're talking about like speaking to a little boy, if your little boy ran up to you and he's like 18 years old and he's like, Mom, I want to build a business. Like, what advice would you give to your son if you look to build a business in South Africa?
That's such a good question. I mean, mostly because now I'm picturing my son being 18 and wanting to build a business. What would I tell him? I would say you should definitely start at 18 because there is, as long as there's a humble naivety, right? We don't want an entitled naivety. Like, I think that there's a lot of that fresh perspective on the world. You know, when you don't know how things work, is really great. You just because you don't know, so you have no preconceived idea. No, you haven't seen the picture. You know, I used to say I don't picture the world as it is. I always picturing as it could be. I don't know if I feel that as much now as that I did then. It was so. I think I would say yes. Go do it before you have kids, before you are married, like before you've built up a lifestyle, you know, while, you know, like live as simply as you can, like absolutely do it, work hard, you know, that you will lose nothing. You know, there's so much to gain by doing it young, before risks, before, you know, things change. So I would say all of those things. I would say you need to like be humble and curious and ask questions. Like you need to not assume. Do you know what I mean? Like asking questions is way more valuable than having answers. Like that's what I would say at that age is you don't have the answers. You're asking questions to hear the answers. Like that's what is important then. And self-awareness, I would say you need to like reflect often and honestly, because I can see the moments in my business where it like stagnates until I'm willing to like work on myself. It almost keeps growing as I work on that next thing. It's like almost I become the block to the next level.
Wow.
And so those are maybe some off the top of my head.
Wow, no, that's profound. That's super profound. It reminds me when you said to ask more questions, don't judge people by their answers, judge people by their questions. And that's like, I would probably tell, if I had a son, I would probably tell my 18-year-old son the same, that ask lots of questions, but ask questions that add value. They're not just like trying to obtain information, but how does this information inform like what I'm trying to achieve and what I'm trying to do?
Yes.
Like I'm trying to, when I say to my daughter, you go into rooms where you can add value. If you can't add value, don't go into the room.
Yeah.
So go so that you can add value and be the change in that environment instead of just going in and being just a bystander and a watcher.
Yes.
Like be actively involved in creating value.
Yes, I love that. That's really cool.
So but in finishing off, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would say don't take anything I say too seriously, because I mess up and I change my mind. So I've never looked back at a recording or an interview, but I think, sure, I've changed my mind on some things a couple times. So if you watch this in 10 years' time and something I've said is wildly inappropriate or incorrect, don't take it too seriously.
That's awesome. But I deeply appreciate your time, and thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to speak to me and to come onto the podcast. I really, really appreciate it.
It's a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you. Awesome.